Do you want to ask the Blazers
Oh
question
yeah,
from
I said I
Nicholas?
was going to do that. Sure. Okay, this is from Nicholas Hobson, Blazers fan, admitted right up front. Love Ant Simons, but wondering what kind of trade value he has come January 15th when he's eligible to be moved. Who are some players who you could realistically see coming back to the Blazers for him, and what are some teams that would love to have his services?
This is an interesting question. I think some people had sticker shock when he signed at 4 years and 100 million. That just feels like a good contract. I mean, when you kind of look
Mhm.
at, let's phrase it this way versus RJ Barrett, Tyler Hero, and Jordan Poole, the money that they got, and then versus what Anfernee Simons got, who are you betting on having the best contract of those four? They're at different stages. Like Anfernee Simons already on his. I think there might be a case for Tyler Hero at this point,
I think
but
he's
like
the runaway leader right now.
I might pick Anfernee Simons just because it's a little bit cheaper.
Mhm.
So, and Simons has been good this year. He's hitting over 36% of his off the dribble triples. His catch and shoots are still above 37%. You're probably normally those used to being higher. 53% shooting on drives this year. And the Blazers they've done better when Damian Lillard's playing without Simons than Simons without Lillard. There can be a ton of noise in there. Damian Lillard missed a ton of time, so we're seeing Simons go up against more starting units in those minutes. The Blazers bench is also just like completely cratered after a hotter start. They have like a bottom 5 point bench point differential since they started the season 10-4. Anfernee Simons' value around the league, I think, would be pretty high, is my point here. Super young, someone who could get his own shot, has shown some diversification on where he's getting those shots, how he's getting those shots, and just as a passer overall, not super complicated, but like, yeah, he could be the steward in those minutes where if you don't have your actual primary playmaker around him. When you look at teams that would want him, and so I'm doing this from my perspective, and one of them that just, stands out to me the most would be Toronto because he just brings sort of everything that they're lacking. And so is that someone where I'm not in favor of them giving up OG Anunoby, but like is Anfernee Simons an asset where, okay, well then all of a sudden you're pairing him with Fred VanVleet? You know what? You did the small guard thing already. I know Simons doesn't defend like Lowry, but his shot creation is just so like who is the best? The best shooter on the Raptors right now is Gary Trent Jr. And like is their most important floor spacer with the way that Fred VanVleet's been shooting for most of the season. So just like is that enough? Or even if the Raptors decide to blow it up, where I don't know what that looks like. We need to have a separate pod on the Raptors or
Mhm.
something, or get into like that with like the trade deadline primer. Is just like if you were the conventional way to blow things up is you trade your oldest best player and recruit draft equity or a high end prospect. Simons has already been paid, but he's young enough to where like, is that how you like kind of get a Siakam deal done or something? I also think a team that should look at him, they're not at this point in their development, but like the Spurs could really use someone like him. And I don't know what you're willing to give up there, like if it's draft equity or whatever. But that's a team that I thought of. And if you have teams that you wanted to throw out there, I have one that's like mean. It's not mean, but it's just like, the Suns could really use him. And so it's like, I don't know who you're giving that. Like, are you giving up Mikal Bridges for Anfernee Simons? Because then all of a sudden you have CP3 for another. Maybe you get rid of CP3 after this season, but that's like because the Blazers don't look like they're going to be sellers. And so you're not moving Simons as part of a sell job. But like Simons on the Suns could theoretically make a lot of sense. Simons on the Magic. And then I know this one won't be popular and they can't really get to the money matching right now, but like Simons on the Thunder would make
Mhm.
a lot of sense, even with Giddy and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander there. I was just curious, like if you had, I have other teams, but did you have any teams?
Yeah, so again, I think my number one. So I want if I'm getting Simons, right? I'm just trying to think of like trade partners for the Blazers on this. I got to be a team that has like a surplus of length and defense because I think he just defensively he's been really bad. I'm concerned that this is the type of thing where that's just how what he's going to be. That puts like a sub, elite number one option ceiling on him, which is fine because you're not paying him like one of those guys. You're paying him at rates where it's like he's a quality starter or a little bit better than that. So that's fine. So my very first team was Toronto. I just don't know what the package looks like for all the reasons you said, not the least of which being, I think if you're getting Anunoby back, which everybody should want, and he fits particularly well on the Blazers, like the Blazers have this pick encumbrance going to the Bulls that is first through 14 protected through like 27. So you got to get the protections amended on that. You got to figure out how you convince Toronto that it makes sense to give up Anunoby for Simons and that probably they're assuming that both Van Vliet and Trent are not coming back. So that it's a weird fit. Like it's both a perfect fit and like almost impossible to execute. The other two that I had were Orlando. I feel like you could put stuff together that gives the Blazers back. Like maybe you use Jonathan Isaac, who finally might be ready to play basketball and could theoretically, if healthy, be a huge defensive boost to a team that, again, surprise, surprise, needs a defensive boost. Maybe you're talking about like Fultz and Suggs or something. I don't know what all you need to do to sort of put the pieces together. The other team is the Clippers to me, just
Ooh.
because like I think Wall has faded, and Reggie Jackson basically isn't going to play anymore. It looks like for a while, like he fell out of the rotation. Luke Kennard is an option at the point, but he's a flawed one, and he's in and out of the lineup. I think with a calf. The problem is like, are the Blazers interested in some combination of like Marcus Morris and Batum or Robert Covington and like a 2028 first rounder, 29, 27
Yeah.
swap? Like the Clippers draft is tied up for several more years. So you'd have to be, it's a weird move for the Blazers. Like why, like I don't know how much those guys help. And then like why do you care about first rounders that are 7 years, 6 years away? I don't know, but teams that need a point guard or a scoring guard that can give up length basically was what I was looking at.
And it's like Dallas would make a ton of sense, but like even if we're waiting to the offseason where they can give out like the picks package special, it's sort of just like why is Portland interested in that? And that's
Right.
where it makes it harder. The
Yeah.
one I was gonna ask you about on this, what about Memphis?
So you're basically upgrading the Tyus Jones spot more or less in the rotation.
But it's like, what do you get? Because you're not trading Bane and you're not trading Jaren Jackson Jr. At that point, it's like, so the Blazers, yeah, they're not rebuilding. And so that just makes it like a super
You
tough fit here.
I mean, you could say, I mean, if the Blazers were high on Zaire Williams or thought Brandon Clark could do more than kind of play, 25 minutes at center type of thing. I mean, you could put and then the Grizzlies have a bunch of picks. Like I think the Grizzlies could put a package together that would be, so asset rich potentially it'd be hard to turn down. But yeah, it's tough because it's hard to find like a win now piece that upgrades Simons and also is not doesn't have to be like buttressed by picks, which I don't think Portland would care that much about. So it's
I mean, it'd be nice if they could get them to open up their own trade possibilities, but you want players like
yeah. You
in
you
return
sort
that are
of
going to
when
win.
you sign Dame to the extension, you sort of like you kind of like incoming first round picks are kind of like we're not planning to work that way for a while. It was the message, I think.
Well, you know what technically could work is the Wizards. They have Avdia, they have Kuzma, Monte Morris, and then like if they're willing to trade conditional picks because of the obligation to the Knicks, like is how much are you like because Bradley Beal, I think Bradley Beal and Simons work. They don't work defensively. Like that's just not going to be a
Yeah.
thing. But like that's almost a perfect word. Simons is not your point guard, so like it allows Beal to still run things, but like Simons can run things as well, and they need more variable cadence from like their non Bradley Beal guard spots at this point. So that would be a team. I think Toronto or even the Spurs, just because if they wanted to, and you're the Blazers, like if they're going to put Keldon Johnson or
Oh
Devin
yeah.
Vassell on the table, like that can make a ton of sense for you. In addition to other, I don't even know if there'd be other stuff involved. Just like that's what's tough about Simons, where the Raptors, like yeah, there's or like if it's OG Anunoby for Simons, like and that's the framework of a deal, there'd be more money involved. Who's giving up more? Like is that might be the closest thing to like the straight up sensible one. But if you're looking for sort of to divest, let's say Simons into picks and immediate help, the Wizards might be a partner. I want to leave the who says no, but we have a who says no for the Blazers from Ian that has this. The Jazz receive Anfernee Simons, Josh Hart, and a first round pick. The Blazers receive Lowry Markkinen, Jordan Clarkson, and Jared Vanderbilt.
I think the Jazz say no there, just because I think Markkanen is. I mean, the first and Hart are great sweeteners, but like I still really like Vanderbilt, and I mean Markkanen to me is. I don't know that Simons will ever reach the level Markkanen is at right now, and it's not like Markkanen's old, so I'm hesitant to trade Markkanen unless I'm getting back like someone that is probably
I,
going to be an all-star like now.
Hart's interesting because it gives you like sort of an authentic wing, but like now you're and Simons is just like okay, well he's younger than Clarkson. Clarkson's up for a new deal too. but like you already have Sexton there, Conley's still on the roster, and then like Malik Beasley's there. You have to pay Hart after this season. I think it's an interesting concept, but if you're gonna pry Lauri Markkanen from the Jazz, my guess is they're getting two first round picks. And I'm not saying they're unprotected. Maybe this season's is unprotected.
Yeah.
But you're probably getting two first round picks and something else. Simons is better to me than that. But when Utah's like, I don't even want to say it's their weakness isn't guard play right now. Like they get a ton of dribble penetration from everywhere. I think that this probably falls short for them.
I agree. I think Markkanen, just the fact that, we talk about this with like the Magic hypothetically, but the fact that Markkanen can be a guy that can score on the ball and then can run around off of it at a big forward position just makes it so that like your guards don't have to be, you don't need a guy that gets into the paint all the time. That like it just downgrades the requirements from your backcourt spots when you have a big guy that can, bend the defense just by sort of being out there. So yeah, Simons is a good player. I just don't know that he improves the Jazz enough without tons of stuff to justify it. Like Markkanen, if there's no way they trade Markkanen, right? Like just full stop. I can't imagine the Jazz would do that unless they're getting like a Gobert size offer for him.